So this is what I am going to cover is the companion guide. Now before we get into the document, let's understand the difference between the companion guide and the implementation guide. These are the two keywords you will hear in the healthcare industry when it comes down to any kind of a mandate and what is the source of that mandate. We all know that there are different type of EDI transactions, but as part of this we will only talk about 834. So what is 834? The 834 is all about benefit and enrollment. That's what it is. All about benefit and enrollment. So when we are talking about the companion guide, we are talking about all the requirements or the related functionality, all the related enforcements on the 834 transaction set by Center of Medicare and Medicaid. And this is the document which laid out all the different requirements, what CMS expect anyone to implement who is associated with CMS. If the provider is not working with CMS, this 834 doesn't play any role. If the insurance company is not associated with CMS, this doesn't come into the picture. Whereas, if someone is working on this functionality and being in this business, they must follow the rules what is translated as per the companion guide. Now, companion guide is the subset of a implementation guide. So now the question is, what is implementation guide? Implementation guide is the master document for 5010. So when HIPAA provided the regulation, how the 5010 came into the picture, all these things can be clarified in the overview of the EDI chapter. But here, since we are talking about just the companion guide, so I will just keep the focus on this topic particularly. Implementation guide is a document which was released by HIPAA for 5010 back in 2012 when it got effective. That means the mandate came way back in 2010, but it got effective in 2012. So the implementation guide is the document which lays out all the HIPAA related information, and then whatever is part of the implementation guide, based on that, different agencies, example Center of Medicare and Medicaid or any insurance company, have created, or state have created their own set of standards. Now it sounds like that, okay, then what is when HIPAA have created the master document and each agency or state is trying to create its own document as a companion guide, then what is the value and use of implementation guide? The point over here is, I will give you a very layman term example. Think about it. The implementation guide which was released by HIPAA have 50 fields. So as per HIPAA, any transaction for 834 has to have a 50 fields. The data elements I'm talking about, name, first name, last name, social security number, and like that, there has to be 50 fields. That is the guideline defined by implementation guide. Whereas this is just an example. Again, I am just explaining it so that it can be understandable in a layman term. When that 50 fields are part of the implementation guide, later on what happens, for example, the insurance company, Center of Medicare and Medicaid, then you have the state, then you have the exchanges which is getting used as part of the marketplace. All these have their own way of dealing with the data. For example, NPI is the mandated field as per the HIPAA requirement, which is the 5010 requirement. So the question is, if Center of Medicare and Medicaid want to get rid of NPI, can they do that? The answer is no, they cannot do that. So all the fields which are defined as a required field in the implementation guide cannot be manipulated by any agency. It has to be as is at part of the companion guide. You cannot touch those fields. You cannot manipulate those fields. then what you can do. I will come later on what you can do, but at this point of time just understand that if the implementation guide have 50 fields and 25 fields are required, any companion guide, whether it is the state specific, whether it is the Center of Medicare and Medicaid, or whether it is any insurance company, they cannot get rid of and say that they do not need these fields. They have to receive these fields. So their EDI side of the software has to be capable and in compliance with the HIPAA implementation guide, making sure that they receive those 25 fields. Then what happens to the rest of the 25 fields which are there in the implementation guide? Those rest of the 25 fields could be the optional fields or conditional fields. Now optional field, we understand that, okay, if you have it, you send it. If you don't want to send it, don't send it, because that information is crucial but not at that level or in that extent. So let's assume optional we understand. Then what is the third type of a field? The third type of field could be your conditional field. So when you have a conditional field, that conditional field is only going to be required under some circumstances, under some condition. For example, there are some fields related to auto accident. Now every claim for I'm going to the 837 transaction. Every claim is not going to be an auto accident claim. So in that case, what happens? If the claim is not an auto accident claim, those fields will be blank. Whereas if the claim will be auto accident claim, those fields will be filled out. So that is what the three different type of fields you can see in EDI. And when it comes down to the companion guide, these are the values which you can play around. For example, in companion, in implementation guide, it says that ID field required, just an ID, okay? And in that ID, you can have three different type of IDs. You have the option to submit three different type of IDs. Number one, the member ID, and number one is the provider ID, which is provided by the insurance company to the provider. Number two is the NPI, and number three is your tax ID, provider tax ID. Now, Aetna may decide that they just want to receive the tax ID, so they will make that field as a required field. Based on the companion guide, they will say that, okay, I just want to get tax ID. Cigna may opt to get the same field with NPI value. So these are the kind of information you see the changes as part of the companion guide. Now, let's move on and let's look at the information which goes under the 834. So this is the CMS document. We are going to just see what kind of an information goes over here. Now see here, this document is very precise, very informative, and provides all the different sort of information which is required to understand the overall 834 transaction set. Before we get into the details, let's have an understanding. So we have the testing overview and the testing process. Let's get into the testing process. Now, there is something called trading partner. The term sounds very different, but this is a very simple concept. Anyone who is having the inbound and the outbound data transactions, so the file coming in and file going out to that party who is dealing with the CMS, is considered a trading partner. So those companies will be considered a trading partner for the CMS. Now, before we get into further, just see this document is for whom. Okay, so all this companion guide is mandatory requirement for whom? In order to send receive transaction from FE, trading partners and state-based exchanges, which is your marketplace, must complete a trading partner agreement, exchange profile information, and establish connectivity. And why is so? Why do we need that? So what happens? To receive the document or to receive the file, 834 file, and to send the 834 file, you must have the trading partner profile setup. That means the receiver is able to uniquely identify who the submitter is, and when they are sending the data, they should send it to the right party. So for that, your trading partner profile needs to be submitted. It's not like that today you have a business and you start sending the file to CMS electronically. You can't do that. Your file will be rejected upfront because the system will not identify who the trading partner is, because that have no identifier set up on their end. So that is the value of it. Then see here, where exactly that is getting set up. Trading partner completes and signs a trading partner agreement form and submit it to the hub. This is explaining you the process, that how they get the relationship established with the CMS. Submit it to the hub team for processing. Electronic data interchange interface should be set up and tested with the trading partner. The first step that the hub team will take is to establish trading partner profile. All the related information about the hub is already we discussed as part of the marketplace exchange. The hub team will configure a test profile for one or more EDI interfaces with the trading partner. So hub team is the one who is doing the data transition. So they have to have a trading partner. Now moving on, this document is a very long document, so we'll just go over the details, which you can just Google, try to Google the companion guide. Just go and Google the 834 companion guide and try to see. If not, I'll try to share this. Testing, or you can find it in the reference document in the knowledge base. As part of the testing, what exactly they are trying to see? As part of the testing, what they try to see is that whether the data which is getting passed is right or wrong, number one. Number two, whether the data format is right or wrong. We are talking about two different things. The format means that you are sending the social security number, but you are just sending the alpha as part of it. That is going to fail because the social security has to be numeric. That kind of a. Not only that, let's say you are sending the flags for some flags. Whether the payment has to go out to the member or to the provider, that is some kind of a value. If you have the incorrect value, it is going to pay the claim to the member rather than the provider, or vice versa. So that kind of a thing. As part of 834, there are different type of information needed. So we'll talk about it. Now testing process, let's leave this. Okay. I just want to go over the information, what information goes inside the 834, because that is the key as a business analyst, as a quality assurance analyst to know. Rest all of the information is more for the business uses, but that information which is needed for the analyst, whether it is a quality assurance analyst or a business analyst, is the field item, the data item. That's what we need to be more focused on. Now, okay, so let's see here. If you will see this, this is moreover explaining how the data is working. You see here in the enrollment side of it. So how it works? We have.
What is FFE, by the way?
Sorry?
What is FFE?
FFE?
Yeah.
It is federal. I also got lost on that. Hold on. I have it here. FFE is a very common term we use. This is something very, it's just like, it's not coming in my mouth, as I know it. Hold on, let me just go here, and then when it clicks to my mind, I will let you know the answer for that. it is related to the marketplace. It's just not clicking in my mind what exactly. Just thinking here. It is. I'm just lost on this. This is the marketplace related. It's just one keyword I'm stuck to. This has related to the federal facilitated exchange. Yeah, that's what it was. It was somewhere. Yeah. So it is federal facilitated exchange. This is related to the marketplace. That's what it is talking about, because that is where you get all the enrollments. So from the marketplace, that's where you are getting the exchange data. That's where you are getting all that information related to the exchange, that okay, who registered, what they have registered, and all these things. So you get it from there. Now, so let's understand this. You also find this as part of the marketplace, which is the different kind of architecture, but let's just quickly go over it to just understand it. So here are all the individuals, whether you are getting through the third party, whether you are trying to get it individual or through you are an employee. Either case, you are going to provide all the information, and based on that you are going to choose the plan. So again, this is the piece, this is the area which is this all is going to act as a hub. So all the data, if you see here, why it is a hub, because this is the storing point where you are getting the data. So this data is coming over here. So you have this 834, see here. So through web service or through XYZ interface, all the data get validated. Why do we validate the data? We are validating the data. Again, we know that okay, what kind of a data is whether someone is the citizen or not, whether someone is really eligible or not, is there any kind of a I would say fraud or anything detected against that person. So considering all those things, the validation of the data is very much important. After all that data messaging is done, the data is sent and go to the location. I won't say a folder, I would say go to a location. As you see, the hub sends 834 to issuer. Who is the issuer? The company who is going to provide that plan. So if an individual or anyone over here have selected a plan through Aetna, issuer would be Aetna over here. So all that data via hub will be transferred over to the issuer, which is that agency who is going to offer that benefit which member is interested in. And based on that, see, when the 834 coming in, your 999 acknowledgement goes out. 999 is nothing but confirming that okay, what data is submitted being successfully received. There are some problems. So this is kind of an acknowledgement, request and the response process. That's what it is. Now once you have the request and the response, so same thing goes when the data is being sent out. You see here also you have the 834, here also you have the 834. And why is that? Because it's a enrollment and benefit, means from here you are having a request that okay, this person is interested in buying these services and under this plan. Whereas when you are sending it from here, now the enrollment process is completed and you are sending out all the details. So when you are sending out the 834, that is the only way you can send out what is the start date, under what plan the member is covered, what kind of a benefit he or she can have, because so that this can be available on the exchange. This has to be available on the exchange for the individual. So you see here, when the 834 goes out, for that also the 999 acknowledgement is needed. So 834 has to have 999. Now once the confirmation happens for the 834 to hub, yes.
Sorry to break you. I'm very sorry. See, I understand the point where the hub sends to 834 issuer via EFT, which is in the format, and then it goes to a folder. From there, it goes to processing. From there, again, it goes to the output, and then it sends it back to the hub, right? So, what is the parallel transaction as to what is triple line? Why should a triple line be parallel to the regular 834?
This one?
Yeah, triple line, yes.
See here. You see the numbering? See, the numbering is the self-explanatory thing. See here. Whether you are coming from this way or whether you are coming from here. One, FT is sending the enrollment. Then the web service is sending the data to the hub. Once that data gets validated, what it does? See here. It comes down here. Number 6 is over here. This. Number 6. Following that? So number 6, what it says is, why it is parallel? Because when you send the 834, see, this is the parallel process. You cannot have it as a isolation mode that today you generate the 834 and the receiver end, you have processed that file without sending out the 999. You cannot do it. It's a systematic process. It's not manual process. It's a systematic process where the moment the file is processed, automatically the 999 acknowledgement goes out. And if it's not going out, there is a problem. Because what happens, we are talking about volume of data. It's not just one record or two records. So when the marketplace is sending, so when the marketplace is or the exchange is sending the data, it's not like one record or two records which are being translated here and there. There could be the instance, but you think about it, millions of members. Out of millions of members, so many people are exploring the insurance from the marketplace when it is the open enrollment period. So the multiple transactions are going in parallel, multiple records. Employer is also sending the data, and when this exchange is generating the 834, it is sending out the details for Aetna, not only just for one individual, it is sending out for more records. So think about it. When the file got processed, out of 5 records, means there were 5 subscribers whose data was in that file, only 4 got processed, 5th was failed. How the exchange know that, okay, there was some problem? There is no way. So the acknowledgement is the only way they know that, okay, something was not correct as part of that file, or maybe some extra special. See, you so many boundaries the data is coming through. So there could be some problem over here, and because of that, some extra character got added as part of the 834. 999 will provide that feedback stating that, okay, the file failed because of the extra character.
So the 999 feedback will be basically the exception file which will say, hey, these are the members which had 1 digit less, or these are the members where the first name last name did not match, all those things.
That's right.
Okay. So that exception file will be in the XML format.
That is XML format because that's the best way to handle the bulk data.
I got it. Okay.
Got it? So this is the same, moreover, what you will see as part of the market exchange, the architecture. Now let's move on to, this is the area which is very crucial for anyone to understand. You see, when we are talking about, see, this is not all the fields, because all the fields, for that you need to purchase the 5010 implementation guide. This is not all the fields. These are the fields which are very much important, and those are the fields based on the CMS companion guide we are talking about. But this is more than enough for anyone to understand how the 834 works and what kind of a requirement you may have when you are writing a test case or when you are writing the requirement, how to handle those. For example, see here. So authorization information qualifier, see these codes 0000, ZZ. When we are talking about these codes, always remember these are the codes which CMS requires. These this ID, which is your ZZ. I'll show you some values which are more informative, which makes sense for you. What CMS requires. These are not the values what you need for the entire organization. For example, I'll show you. Hold on. So this is how the fields will be defined in the ISS segment. Okay, now let's go here. I'm just looking for more. Okay. See, we are talking about for the federally facilitated exchange. So this means that whoever is dealing in the exchange has to have the assigned exchange ID. Now, assigned exchange ID, when transmitted in subscriber identifier REF, what it is? It is 10 numeric character placed in the alphanumeric field. No check digit, no intelligence is found in this character. So this is defining when someone is submitting the value in the exchange assigned ID, what they need to take care of. And the qualifier has to 0F. Similarly, the assigned subscriber ID, they are saying ZZ. ZZ, they are saying ZZ stands for some value. We need to look at the implementation guide to see what ZZ stands for. Similarly, 0F also stands for something. 17 stands for something. For example, if I say 00, 01, 02. 00 means tax ID. 01 means your NPI. 03 means your provider ID. So if CMS says 00, that means they need to send the NPI. If it was 01, that means the tax ID needs to be submitted. Only tax ID needs to submit it. So that means you have an option of 00, 01, 02 for this field where the values are predefined. You cannot simply just enter whatever you want. CMS is only expecting that value from the list of values which they have provided. So list of values are 3 values, but CMS only requires 1 value, which is your 00 or 01 or 02, something like that. Similarly, that is what these values are. That means for these fields, based on the implementation guide, there are multiple values for each field. But CMS only expects these values to be submitted if you are dealing with the CMS. That's what it means. I'll show you something else to simplify that. Okay. This is very good area to understand that if you are in the 834 document, if you are looking for the member level detail, you should go to the loop 2000. If you are looking for the member level dates, any date you can think of it, you should go to the DTP section. Similarly, if you are looking for health coverage related information, you should go to the HD section. If you are looking for the reporting categories, go to the 2700 loop. So in the document, which is the full-blown document, you will see that these are the values, these are the areas you can find all the information. I'll show you so that you can understand that. Let's first go over this document so that we can see it.
I have a question. In the
Yes.
834 transaction companion guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to go through the entire document once, or what are the important areas you can concentrate on?
See, whether you are working as a business analyst or quality assurance analyst, you will have a project timeline.
Okay.
And given that project timeline, you will be working with the several subject matter experts. If you are a QA, you will have a business analyst as a go-to person. But if you are a BA, you will have a SME, which is a subject matter expert, as a go-to person. And based on that, you are going to ask questions and get the answers. Given some point of time, you may have to read through document, but for example, think about it. Let's say you are working on a project where something to do with the reporting, and you just need to read through this area. So you just get into the 2750 can you please mute your line, please? You just go to 2750, which is the reporting area, and you will find all the relevant information related to 2750 loop. If let's say, so see here, what is happening is, these are all the values. These are all the values which you are having as part of the reporting. So you see here N102, REF01 value, REF02 data, DTP, initial enrollment, confirm enrollment, and all these values. So this is kind of a report you are generating it based on these values which is being submitted, or which is being whether coming in or going out. Means coming in means something which is kind of a source, and going out means which is that information you have received after the enrollment is done. See, first of all, you need to understand where exactly this file comes into the picture. This file can be used by the physician. Let's say the patient goes to the physician, the subscriber is with the physician, or he or she called up the physician office to get an appointment. Your physician office took all the necessary information, call up insurance and say, I want to find out the insurance detail for this member, and they provide the member ID. Now, or they can log into their system, whatever EMR software they are using it at their office location, enter it into the system, and then inquire about it. Then what happens? The system creates a request related to the member and it goes out. Not only that, think about it. That is 275. When your employer, when someone enrolls and registers through, you join a new job, you opted for the insurance, now you submitted all your necessary information as part of the application which employer is using it. Now employer have to send all that information to your insurance company, and once your insurance is ready, your insurance will send out the ID card and everything to you. But at the same time, the acknowledgement has to come back that, okay, you sent 10 records, we process 10 records. Not only that, after that, this 834 transaction can happen internally also. Internally in the sense that insurance company, one area just takes care of all the new members, which is your NMS or new membership system or something, to generate the ID card and manage all the enrollment. Now the claim system have to have the current enrollment details. So what they will do, they will generate the 834 file, adding all that member detail and all the enrollment related information, that okay, what is the start date, what is the term date of the member policy, and based on that they will just go ahead and send it to the claim system, so that the claim system can pick up that information and process the claim correctly. So the 834 have a usage at different places. Now see here, this is what I was explaining earlier. What it says, this is how the 834 document, actual document, if you see the implementation guide, will have the fields and the data elements defined in this way. Beginning segment, okay, this is where the data starts. DTP, file effective date, will transmit to indicate the date of the information was gathered. If the date is not the same as this is the field. If the date is different than these fields, the date needs to be provided over here. DTP01 date time qualifier 303. 303 stands for something. So go and just Google out 834 DTP01 qualifiers. We will do some value search so that I take you to the next level, but at this point of time just follow through what I am explaining here. Then you have the QTY, there are some controls, and then QTY01. See, forget about all these reference things. try to understand what kind of information goes in and what kind of information comes out. What is the value of those fields? If this document is given to you, how you will translate this document? What exactly means to you? Do you understand this? Is it French to you? That's what it means. Are you able to write the test cases based on it? For example, all the way to the top, when I was explaining that CMS expect only one value, implementation guide has given these three values to you, whereas CMS expect only one value. So see here, you submit TO. TO means will transmit to indicate that the value conveyed in QTY. QTY02 is the next field after QTY01. There will be QTY2, which is not listed here because this is just a companion guide. This is referring to the implementation guide. Represents the total number of INS segment in the ST and the SC set. So if this is the condition which is correct, you send TO. If DT is the statement which is correct, if the data element fall under DT, will transmit to indicate that the value conveyed in QTY02 represents the total number of INS segment in the ST and SE set with INS01 equals to N. Only this condition someone is supposed to send out DT to CMS. Then the third value is ET, will transmit to indicate only when this INS01 is Y. You see how three conditions. Here you don't have any INS01 value. INS01 or yes or no. But in these two cases you have INS01 and yes and Y. Yes or Y. In this case, you either, if it is N, you submit DT. So how this data will look like if you have no Y and S? This field doesn't have the value. You are only going to submit QTY01, quantity qualifier, TO, and then you will have the corresponding value in QTY02. This will not be there. This is just the definition. This is the guideline which is telling you that if either of the conditions gets satisfied, you send that value. If DT is satisfied, all this will be wiped off and only DT will be here. So this is what your uses of companion guide means. Now I'm just trying to look for some very easy value which makes more sense. This is your loop. This is your loop. Loop means nothing but it's a highest level of group. For example, you have 2100. Under that you will have ISH, which is the sub level, and then under that you will have all the data elements. So that's why this is called a loop. That means under 2100 loop you can find related all the employment related information. So all these fields you see here, EC, ICM, AMT is your amount, HLH, LUI, all these things are part of 2100A loop. So that means all these are related information. So you have employment class, member income, member policy amount, member health information, member language, all this. So now if you are talking about if your project is related to this, all the member related information, you know you need to go and look up in the implementation guide or companion guide in the 2100 loop. That's the area you need to explore. Similarly, if it is, see here, it's all about member 2100 C, 2100 B, D, E, F, member employer loop, member school loop, custodial parent loop, which is more kind of a guardian type. It's talking about responsible person loop, responsible person. Then you have the NM101. Again, this is the qualifier. Qualifier means this is going to decide that NM102 will have what value, which is NM102 is not listed over here, but NM101 says identifier, and identifier, what kind of there are two options, QD and S1. QD means something else and S1 means something else. So let's say I am Aetna and you are Cigna. I qualify, my values, what I have, I fall under the QD situation for member 1. But for member 2, I will pass S1 because that's the condition I fall under. Whereas your members, when you are submitting it, both of your members fall under the QD situation. So you will submit QD for both the members. I will submit QD S1 each member. So it depends what condition they fall under. And this is all the information for the supplemental. See, moreover, you don't need to know this all 30-page document. You don't need to know. You just need to know how, because if you see the 837 document, that's a 600 up to 900-page document. Do you think that anyone has to know that 900-page document? No, nobody has to know that. But at the same time, you just have to be smart enough to understand how to read this document. That's what it is. I'm just trying to see if other than loop and segment, is there anything I need to add up to simplify this? Yes.
Do you have a sample 834 file, XML file?
Sample 837, 834 file you are saying?
Right.
The files are in the text format, you know, and these files are such a huge file because these are fixed delimited files, means the position is fixed for these data elements. So if the field is blank, it will be space like that. These are very huge files. I do have access to those files, but I cannot translate those or showcase those files because these are huge files.
What happens is 834 has a daily transaction file and a full file, right?
Sorry?
So, no, 834 has a daily transaction file and a full file, correct? Because transaction file is where you have all the changes that happen.
All the?
Changes, any changes that happen on a day-to-day basis, there is something called the transaction file that people see.
That's right.
So that folder will it be of the same size as a full file or it will be a smaller?
You are thinking on a smaller level, right? And what I am looking is 3.6 million employees. Okay, so that becomes very difficult to showcase. I will try to get, but it is very difficult because in the past also we did this type of question. But I'll try to see if I can share a small 834.
No, okay.
Yeah.
And can you share this companion guide at least?
Yes. That will be placed in the reference document, so you can just have a look of it. But at the same time, we'll have the sample 830. Can you please mute your line? We will have the sample document as well, so that you can. I'll try to grab at least one record. I'll try to see if I can just create one where I can showcase a small value to explain how the 834 looks like, so that it is easier for somebody to understand how the data is separated and how the values look like and all the different information. And that is all about the 834. Let me see if I have something. Let me find out, okay? I'll ask one of the developer to just pass across just 1 or 2 records to me to see if I can just share that. One thing is very much important. See, as an interviewer, what I look for in anyone is whether they understand this file or not. What do they understand? So if I need to ask the question, I would say, what exactly is the significance of 834? Why do you use it? And the answer I expect is that the 834 is nothing but it is more over to identify all the new enrollments, any changes which has happened for the member information, because let's say the member had HMO, now member is moving to PPO to the higher plan, or let's say that due to the interruption in the premium processing, premium payment, that it was terminated and now that needs to be reinstated, the policy has to be reinstated, or the member is just getting terminated because the member is changing the employer, or they are just buying a different buying the insurance from the different health carrier. So this is what the significant what we have for the 834 file. Then the question could be something like, okay, do we need to have any kind of a contract or any kind of a setup for 834? The answer would be yes. Any electronic data transaction requires the trading partner setup in the system so that the receiving system can identify who the submitter is. So the submitter ID is allocated to that, and that submitter ID works as an identifier every time the file gets submitted via EDI. So the system knows that, okay, let's say if the file is coming from Aetna to CMS, the system knows that this file belongs to Aetna. So when the acknowledgement goes out, or if there is any problem which needs to be reported, they know who the submitter is, where to go to respond back to those issues. And that is it pretty much. That is what you answer it, and that's it all for 834.